Nearer, my God, to thee, nearer to thee, even it be a cross that raiseth me.
Hi there, I'm Nathan, and I wanted to share with you a little bit of my own adventure in Bible study. And I call it an adventure because it really is. I've had a bunch of different kinds of Bibles in my life. Up until recently, I've been using the New American Standard Version. And lately, I've kind of gone more to the English Standard Version, which is not a great leap, but it is a little different. I think these are very faithful versions of the Bible. Well-studied men have put these together, being very careful with the Greek text, the Greek manuscripts, and we have so many of those that will inform us of what that original document really was. And I pick up my Bibles, and I have scribbles in there where my kids have gone in there and done a little scribbling on some of my pages, and some of them are torn a little bit. I have tape where I've carefully tried to tape over the some tears in my Bible, and it's very well worn, and I love my Bible. Well, what makes my Bible so wonderful to me? What makes it so valuable? I look back on my life and my journey with it, and I was blessed as I grew up to be in the home of Christian parents who raised me knowing the stories of the Old Testament and the New Testament. I was very well blessed to be a part of a church that was deeply involved in Bible teaching. And the children of that church grew up knowing the Bible very well. I was then blessed when I got into college to go to a very small community Bible school. And I remember my favorite professor there was the teacher of Old Testament history and geography, as well as a number of other Bible classes. His name was Phil Roberts. And when he walked into the room for the first time, I remember he had this shock of white hair on his head, and he looked quite the professorial type. And all the kids thought as he walked into the room, here comes another dry professor. We're going to have to sit for a semester learning these dry things about the Old Testament. But let me tell you, he was also an archaeologist and has spent so much time in studying and thinking about the Bible. Well, he turned the lights on for me. I had grown up for 17 years hearing the bits and pieces of the Bible story, but he really showed me how that story came together as one unit. You know, when you open your Bible, it consists of two large sections, the Old Testament and the New Testament. And many people don't understand how those things go together. They don't understand how well they go together, and they must go together. And that the entire Bible, the Old and the New, together comprise one great story. They work together with the same theme in mind, the same major themes, and the same story. Starts in Genesis and ends in Revelation. And again, it continues even till today. We're still living this story that God began at the beginning. And the Bible opens our minds and opens our understanding to what God has done and is doing for us in our lives today. I want to take you with me on this grand adventure because I really believe most people are afraid to begin Bible study, or they just don't know how to begin Bible study because they don't understand the bigger picture of the Bible story. And I want to share that bigger picture with you because when the lights came on for me It was a revelation. It was a wonderful thing. It was light. It was revelation coming into me. And it was so exciting. At the end of it, that semester of Old Testament history and geography with Professor Phil Roberts, I was able to take a blank piece of paper, actually several blank sheets of paper, and draw out an entire timeline from the beginning to the end of the Old Testament and put many, many details on that outline from memory, because now I saw it as a consecutive, integrative unit. I want to share that with you. Preachers get up and they proclaim that this book is full of life. But so many take this book, they have a beautiful bound copy of the Bible, and they sit it in front of their children right there on the coffee table, and it looks beautiful. Or they put it up on their shelf in a nice bound edition, and it looks nice on the shelf. But how many actually open the book and examine the book to see what's inside? I'm going to take you on a journey on the next several lessons to expose what is inside the book. As we look at, there are 66 books in the Bible. The Bible is not just one book, but it consists of a whole bunch of different books of different literary genres. The Old Testament has 39 books in it. The New Testament has 27. We're going to take a look at a very high level of all of these to be able to where you flop your Bible open. And let's say you say, I'm just going to flop my Bible open. I'm going to begin to read somewhere. So you flop your Bible open, and here I am. I'm open to Jeremiah chapter 29. And I say, now these are the words of the letter that Jeremiah the prophet sent from Jerusalem to the remainder of the elders who were carried away captive, to the priests, the prophets, and all the people whom Nebuchadnezzar had carried away captive from Jerusalem to Babylon. This happened after Jeconiah the king, the queen mother, the eunuchs, the princes of Judah and Jerusalem, the craftsmen and the smiths had departed from Jerusalem. Well, that was just the first two verses. I have all of these names. I have prophets. I have this Nebuchadnezzar guy, and I have captivity going on here, and there's a king and a queen mother, and what is going on? Well, that's the problem. When we flop our Bibles open, we just pick a place, and we don't have any historical anchor to begin from. It doesn't quite make sense to us. And that's why, as we get the bigger picture of the Bible, when we go to Jeremiah the prophet, we'll know when Jeremiah lived. We know that he lived at the very end of what we're going to call the Judah alone period of time. And he bridged the gap between the Judah alone and Babylonian captivity when King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon came and took a bunch of people captive off of the Israelites into Babylon. And so as soon as we open Jeremiah, we'll have this historical background, and we'll understand already a little bit of where we're going and why he prophesied certain things that he did. And so with all the prophets, which often seem to be some of the most difficult Bible reading for a lot of people. And so I want to take some of the fear out of Bible reading. I want you to know that you do not have to be a preacher or a teacher in order to understand the Bible well. Get that down. Historically, especially in certain churches, the Bible has been confined only to the clergy types. And many of the people in the church have just left it to the leadership of the church to interpret their scriptures for them and just tell them what it means and what it says. But I just want you to know that you can have a working knowledge of these scriptures yourself, and it will be life-changing to you. Not only to you, but also to your family.